From your fryer to the table, it's a quick trip for crispy fries. But how about a crosstown delivery? McCain SureCrisp fries are designed to go from fryer to container to carrier to passenger seat across town during rush hour down a shortcut that wasn't all that short to a doorstep before they hit the table. And that first bite, the crispiness speaks for itself. To the last bite, McCain SureCrisp fries. Go the distance. See how far our fries can take your business at surecrisp.com/delivery.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Let's talk to Dershowitz about it.
All right. Well, joining us now is Professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, some big news. Course, Jack Smith says, I'm dropping it. I'm dropping the cases. Finally, right?
Yeah, I know. First, I want to contribute to the Turkey Fund, and I also am going to send a contribution to UME in memory of that of Rabbi Kagan. You know,
bravo.
Kagan is another name for Cohen. The word Kagan is kind of the if you are a Cohen, your name is either going to be Kaplan or Cohen or Kagan. And I work very closely with Chabad. Chabad has just agreed to send 300,000 copies of my new pamphlet, The 10 Big Anti-Israel Lies and How to Refute Them with Truth, to Chabad's on 300 campuses around the country. So we're going to have 300,000 copies of that sent out by Chabad. I'm a big supporter of Chabad, and I was just invited to UME with my wife, and we're deciding not to go. We don't think it's safe for Jews in light of what happened to Rabbi Kagan. So getting back to Trump, of course, as you know, I predicted this was going to happen a long time ago, that these federal charges would inevitably be dropped, certainly after the Supreme Court's decision on immunity. Too little, too late. Obviously, these cases should never have been brought. Now the focus legitimately turns to New York, where the worst prosecutor in my memory has made the worst prosecutorial decision in my memory, going after President Trump on a non-disclosure agreement barred by the statute of limitations. The time has come, long overdue, for that charge to be dropped as well as the Fani Willis charge in Georgia. We have to start January 20th with a clean slate, with an American president overwhelmingly elected, with the support of all Americans, whether you voted for him or not, and with the end of lawfare. No more lawfare. You know, I invented that term lawfare in the 1970s. And it's been used so horribly now for so many years, coupled with Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, it certainly has. Professor Dershowitz, Judge Weinberg.
Alan, I want to raise with you the International Criminal Court with their arrest warrants and your wonderful op-ed piece today in the Wall Street Journal, in which you say you're putting together a dream team. Would you tell our listeners about that, please?
Yeah, would you join the dream team? That's number one.
Hey!
I'd be happy to join. Thank you.
That's great. So we put together, within hours of the announcement of the warrant, I made calls. I just dropped everything. And I called two former attorney generals of the United States, a former solicitor general, the former head of the FBI, you all know him, Louis Freeh. They all immediately joined and agreed to become part of the legal team, not only in the court of The Hague, but in the court of public opinion, to defend Israel and Israel's leaders against these blood libels, these charges that are so completely and totally false. By the time the op-ed piece appeared in today's Wall Street Journal, I had dozens and dozens more great lawyers from England, from Germany, from France, all over the world joining us. And we're going to take on the International Criminal Court. It has no jurisdiction at all, and none of the charges are in any way true.
What is Trudeau doing, saying if Netanyahu lands in Canada, he's going to have him arrested?
If he has him arrested, the United States should impose sanctions on Trudeau, and no American should set foot in Canada. What an abomination. I knew Trudeau's father. I remember when Trudeau's father invoked the War Emergency Act, denying the civil liberties to every member of Canada because of the terrorism. And I worked with Pierre Trudeau on that. He was a great man. His son's a fool, and his son is just completely, totally dominated by ideologues of the hard left in his party and by Muslims. Let's also remember that Canada, when they were asked to bring 100 Jews from the Holocaust, the Minister of Absorption famously said, even one is too many. Even one is too many. They wouldn't allow a single Jew in. Starting right after the war in 1945, they allowed in hundreds of thousands of Nazis from Ukraine, from other places, and filled the center of Canada with people with Nazi backgrounds. So, Canada has a long, sordid history of anti-Semitism, pro-Nazism, and, for years it was fine. But now it's coming back, and Trudeau is leading this horrible campaign against Israel. If he dares to try to arrest Netanyahu, who goes to Canada. A few years ago, Netanyahu went to Canada. He wasn't allowed to speak at Concordia University because they couldn't provide enough security. People were trying to kill him. That's Canada. So next time you have a vacation,
don't go to Canada.
Go to Puerto Rico, go to another place, but don't go to Canada.
One more thing, Professor. It's revelations came out today. We just talked about it with Rita and the judge and Peter, and that the Democratic Party sabotaged no labels from front page of the Washington Post.
I'm not surprised. I worked, as you know, with Joe Lieberman. We were writing an op-ed together the moment he died, and they were terrified of no labels. It's just wrong. Do you know another revelation? Jack Smith, the guy who's disgraced himself. He was on the International Criminal Court for years.
God!
That's where he learned how to persecute innocent people.
That's
at the
fitting.
International Criminal Court. Now, when you get somebody who is part of the get Trump mentality in Washington and part of the International Criminal Court, he's no good.
Yep. Hey, Alan, this is Pete King. Let me just say one thing, get on the record right away. As an Irish American, I think it's absolutely horrible that Ireland also said they will honor the ICC arrest warrant. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I'm saying that as a proud Irish American. I'm not proud of that.
Let me tell you about that. There is no group in America more supportive of Israel than Irish Americans. They have been fantastic since the earliest days when Irish Americans helped with the establishment of Israel, arms to Israel. But Ireland, in recent years, has turned against Israel. But, thank God there are many, many, many more Irish Americans than there are people in Ireland. And so Irish Americans have more influence over the attitudes. I mean, look at the Catholic Church in New York is so dominated by incredibly wonderful Irish Americans and people of other background, and they all support Israel. But go to Ireland itself. I've been on Irish radio. You can't get a fair shake.
Ireland has become too European. It's really terrible. I have one more question. Do you think Jack Smith could try to bring these cases back, or somebody try to bring these back in 4 years, or is it dead?
No, I think they're dead, and they should be not buried, but immolated in flames because they never should have been brought in the first place. And
are we going to get down to the bottom of it? Who pushed the buttons? Who pushed the buttons for all these state indictments to happen? Because somebody pushed them, Professor.
Well, look at Alvin Bragg. He's running for re-election. He has two cases that will be remembered. One, of course, Donald Trump. He got a jury to vote to convict. Anybody could have because of the way the judge handled it unfairly. And the other is the Penny case, and he's going to lose that. So he's running for re-election. He is trying so hard to protect himself from being thrown out of office, but I hope he's thrown out of office.
You're not too old to run, Professor.
All right, I am too old to run, but and I'm not a New York resident, so I'm not going to be able to run. But I will support any legitimate, reasonable person who runs.
How about Randy Mastro?
Look, I don't know names particularly, but Arthur Aidala. I'll put him up there anytime.
I hear a rumor, Arthur Aidala, they're going to make U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
So.
Yeah,
that would
great
be
guy.
Great.
Great guy.
I certainly supported that with my friends in the Trump administration. So I hope we'll get the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District.
We got to go. We got to go to our next guest.
Thank you, Professor.
We love you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And I'm working Thanksgiving Day if you want to come on.
Yeah, same with me. Same with me. Come join us.